Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to your live Investment Dominator Q&A call. My name is Warren Davis, and we are here on this Monday. Today is Monday after Thanksgiving. It's on the 2nd of December. And we're here to get your questions answered, and we wanted to start out with a quick sound check and screen check. If someone there that is seeing my screen successfully and you're hearing my voice, my indicators show that my screen is being viewed and everything can be heard. Okay, thank you, Dean. I appreciate that very much. At least someone is hearing me at this time. And I want to just say, hope you all did have a nice vacation or a nice holiday break with family or friends. And we sure appreciate being able to be here with you. And thank you so much for those that are letting me know you can see and hear me. That's fantastic. We did have a really nice time with family and friends, and we then got back and we did hear on some unfortunate news, the passing of one of our coworkers, one of our office managers that has been with us for a while, and I've gotten to know him and really appreciated him. Cameron passed away on this past Saturday, and I don't know what the protocol is in terms of being able to share that, but I know it was on Facebook, so those of you may have already heard that. We do, during this difficult time, of course, our prayers and thoughts do go out to Cameron's family and all of those that knew him and loved him, and we just wish them the best during this holiday season. It is sometimes unfortunate. The holiday season is, it brings so much joy to so many, and yet can be very tragic for others. So we are very thankful that you are here, and that hope that you had a great holiday time away and that you have some questions. And I see some questions I know a lot of folks may not have heard about that. And in any case, it's a holiday season is full of joy, and sometimes full of sadness, depending on where, certain situations that befall us during that time. It can really color how we look at our holiday season. But hopefully you are moving forward in your business. That's what we're here to get your questions answered so that you can make strides in your business, your respective businesses, and do very well. I've had the pleasure of meeting with so many of you that are out there, and I see we have some new names that are coming through. So it's possible we have some brand new people that are just getting on for the first time. And if that is the case, I want to make sure that you know how to get your questions answered. There should be a box or control box where you can type in your questions, as you see on my screen right now. And don't worry about raising the hand, because I very seldom am able to see the hand. And so the questions that have already started to come in, we want to start addressing. We've got kind of questions from all over the place, but we want to make sure that you're able to type in your question, those of you that are brand new, and just hit this send, and it will get to me in the box. I also ask that those of you that may not have heard this before, when you're asking a question, if you could put the word question, question and maybe a dash before your question, it lets me know that that's an actual question rather than a comment. And so that helps me a lot to decipher and distinguish between questions and comments. So we're going to get your questions answered here, and we hope to help you along in the deal flow process, wherever you might be. There are various ones on the line with us today. So we do want you to be patient with getting your questions answered. As I've stated a few times, we do have 3 different mindsets on the calls with us nowadays, and we're glad to have all of them here. We have the first of all, those are the beginners, the ones that haven't been to the 2-day workshop and they just got an Investment Dominator and they may be brand new to having Investment Dominator, we expect those questions to come through, especially if they haven't done any deals yet. We expect your questions to come through, and they may be basic, but we want to get those answered, as well as the ones that have been through the 2-day workshop and have a lot of different questions. And so we wanted to get those questions as well, the ones that are more advanced and more experienced. So we welcome all types of questions, and I see there are some coming through right now. And some of them are, more Investment Dominator related, and some of them are business process related. But we want to be able to help you with either one. So I'm going to start with a question here that I see coming in from Elizabeth. And basically is the prospect ID number. Supposed to appear on the neutral letter? And the answer to that is no. And the reason being, your neutral letter is the first letter that goes out to individuals that you're communicating, hey, I'm interested in buying your land. So those kinds of letters, if you're looking at my screen right now, I'll put it in full screen mode. Any of the land deals, any of these, I believe you mean the prospect ID number, or this ID number here, which is actually, this is the property record ID that is the same as the ID used in letters to the owners. No, that's not the letter or the number that appears on the neutral letter. If I go in and I edit that particular, make sure I get the timing of the question here. And if we go into here, the number that appears on the neutral letter is actually this owner ID number, because as you know, the owners are the ones that are getting the neutral letters, and there's only going to be one neutral letter per owner. So even if an owner, let's say, might own, several parcels of land, like as I look for an example, if I look for this Alex Delencio, you can see Alex Delencio owns multiple parcels. So and each of his unique parcels have a unique number associated with them. So that number would not appear on your neutral letter. Only Alex's ID, or his owner ID number, which is 133, is the number that should appear on that neutral letter so that they can correspond with him. So good question, and to make sure you all understand the difference between the unique ID number, which is an ID number that's assigned to every parcel of land. So if you have an ID number that would go with your APN, right? Every ID number has a unique APN, but every owner then is assigned an owner number that goes with that owner. And so want to make sure that you can see and understand the difference between that there. And very good, we'll go on with another question here from Jennifer. And Jennifer is asking, are lots of, let's say, 0.11, that's a pretty small lot, and 0.19. So both of those are less than a quarter acre. Are they worth following up on? And I would say it depends on the value that you're getting. Let's say once you do your analysis, Jennifer, and you look at what the county has assessed, For instance, we've had plenty of lots that were right around this 0.19 acre parcel, which is less than a quarter acre, or maybe 0.20, which is still less than a quarter acre. But the county had assessed that, that particular lot at maybe, $9,000-$10,000. And so would that be worth following up on? Sure. If I'm going to only pay, let's say 18% of that, so I might get that under contract for, $400 or $500, maybe even less than that. And a piece of land, if I get under contract for $400 or $500, and even with my closing costs, I might be looking at $1,000 or $1,100 that I've got into that property, and I market it, and I can come away if the county's assessed it at $10,000, and it may have a market value of even $12,000 or $14,000. Yes, a piece of property like that would definitely be worth following up on. So to answer that question specifically, I would say depending on the value that the county places on that and the value that you find in terms of your marketing when you actually search that out in the marketplace and see what the land is worth in the market. So if we get property that gets to be right around, if the market value on that property comes out to be like $5,000 or even $4,000, I may or may not spend my time with that level of property, especially at this time, because even if you get the property for $300 or so, you've got your closing cost. You may have $1,000 into that, into your closing and everything, and then you're going to market that. You can still make $3,000 or so. That's a good little payday. So it might still be worth you checking into. But that's basically what you have to look at, is the market value and what the actual county says that is worth. We've been getting quite a few questions regarding, let's see, we've been getting a lot of questions around neighbor letters, and a lot of you want to generate neighbor letters, like use the system to actually generate a neighbor letter, but it's not just the standard neighbor letter that you want to generate. A lot of individuals are wishing they want to be able to modify the actual neighbor letter. So if we have some time here before we get through all of the class, if I can get through all the questions, I'm going to hopefully be able to share with you some insight on what's the best way to go in and generate that neighbor letter. Okay. All right. Okay. Hopefully all of you can hear. Okay. I see some communication coming through that the sound disappeared for a while, but it looks like it came back. And thank you for your condolences, and we'll pass them on to Cameron's family. Appreciate that very much. Okay. Okay. All right. That is a good question coming in from Don, which is one that takes a little research. It may take a little research on your end, Don, but Don is asking that the county has a piece of land, or says the land is vacant, and but the Google Street View, and I can't really speak to the Google Street View portion, but the Street View, it shows that that there's an actual house on it. And what I would, and let's see, you're asking any idea what is the most correct? Okay. Okay. Well, what I would go by, you asked me what I would go by. I don't really know which one would be correct, Don, without actually sending someone out there, like, maybe if you could talk a realtor, or maybe someone that might go out there and put a sign out for you. They or maybe even a surveyor. You can get the surveyors to go out, not necessarily to do a survey, but they'll go out and view a property for you. They'll charge you for that. Some charge about $75 an hour to go out and find out, where the actual parcel exists. But your question is, which one of those would be correct, the Google Street View or the county? I would go based on the county records. In fact, I would proceed with doing business based on the county records. Now, that said, we have purchased property before and the county says it's vacant. It's in the county records as vacant. In one instance, we had a barn. There was actual barn on the property. We've also purchased vacant parcels, but there were actually trailers that had been abandoned and left on the property. So you're saying in this case, it's a house. Can't really speak to that unless you would actually get someone to go out, look at the parcel, where it's located, be able to identify that that is the actual parcel, and then report back to you if there's an actual house on the land. But I'm not sure I would necessarily trust the Google Street View unless you would back that up by someone actually physically looking and seeing that house that you're seeing. Google Street View should be able to tell you, if it's a vacant parcel, but should be able to show you a vacant parcel, but I wouldn't depend on that. I would go by what the county says is actually on that land and the value. And the county usually has at least gone out within the last year or so, and if there is a building on that property, they would have a building value. A lot of counties have a building value in their assessment. So in terms of between those two, which one is correct? I can't say which one is correct, Don. I can only say I would go by the county's assessment of that being vacant land, and then you get someone to go out and actually put a sign down, and they'll tell you if there's something, that you need to be concerned about. And by the way, so if you were to ask yourself the question, if you do have a piece of vacant land and you have that under contract and you find out that there is like an abandoned trailer, or sometimes there's even been abandoned vehicles left on lots. At least where we've been doing business, whatever's on that property, when you purchase it, it becomes yours. So that the good news for that is that, we've had some buyers that have said, hey, Warren, there's there's an old abandoned trailer on our lot, and we're gonna clear it off, but we want to keep that. We want that trailer. And the truth of the matter is that trailer, if they purchase that lot and that trailer is on there and no one comes back to claim it, it would be the new buyer's property now, because they're purchasing that land. And so we've had a couple of buyers that have been pretty happy. One not so happy because they had to clear the lot, and it does cost money to clear the lot. But in any case, our take on it was, so what do you do in that case? The buyer of the land gets to keep whatever's on that property. Okay. All right. Good questions, people. Good questions coming in. Okay, let me see if I can get some of these that are coming in pretty quick. We've got a few. I did want to make sure I get through this one question regarding the custom neighbor letter, basically. The custom neighbor letter is what, okay. And before I get to that one, I'll answer this other question here, which is real quick. Oh, Jennifer, you're asking the origin of the neutral letters number. And I did answer that, I partially answered it with when I was explaining to you the letter the reference letter that goes on the neutral letter is actually the owner's number. So if you edit a property and you see this owner's ID, this is the number, that's the reference number that should be on the neutral letter. So that's actually where the neutral letter gets its number. Okay, so that's the question, where the neutral letter get its number. And the answer is it's the owner's ID. Okay, and then I did make sure that I want to make sure that everyone's understand that these individuals numbers that are generated here are for the individual parcels. So hopefully we got that handled. Okay. Yep, we've got some information or some questions coming in here about selling site. We'll get back to that. Wanted to demonstrate now here's the situation with the neighbor letters. Okay, because we've had quite a few neighbor letters, and basically you want to know how to process these in bulk, or how to actually generate or get a custom neighbor letter. Let's see, it's 22 minutes after the hour. I want to make sure we get that time. Okay, so if you want to know how to generate a neighbor letter, you have to go up under your buyer's list, and you go under generate documents, and then you see here where in the marketing section where it has the neighbor letters. And I'll generate one for you here to let you see what people are wanting to change. And I don't know if some of those individuals might be on the line with us. But you see, this is an example of what we call our built-in neighbor letter. So it starts out with, howdy neighbor, I don't think we've met before, but I think you should take 30 seconds to read this letter. And so it goes into some, this verbiage, it fills in, like the name, your name of the person and the property. It fills in the county and the parcel number, obviously. Now, the neighbor letters are generated based on a status, obviously, and that status is those records that are in a complete ready to sell mode. So you're marketing this property and you're sending this now to different neighbors, that you have found are in that area. And now a lot of folks are sending them to the neighbor that's physically right next to the parcel. Nothing wrong with that, or maybe right across the street from the parcel. There's nothing wrong with that, but then there's another methodology or another strategy where you can find out all of the neighbors that are in a geographical area. Like you could send it to neighbors that are like 2 streets over, or neighbors that are two blocks over or 4 blocks over. Still, they're considered neighbors. So a lot of you have figured out how to get a list of the neighbors out of the county where you want to send them neighbor letters. And so what's happening is some of our students want to change some of this verbiage on the neighbor letter. And they want to put, either they want to add something or they want to take some of this away. Either way, what is happening is you're customizing your neighbor letter. This is the standard one that comes, it's a built-in one that we have in that Investment Dominator will produce. But if you want to change any of this information, that's what I'm going to show you how to do at this time. And so basically, since I'll keep that around. But basically, if I want to change this neighbor letter, and I don't want to use the built-in, the way that I'm going to change that neighbor letter, or I'm going to actually end up creating my own custom neighbor letter, you go up under Customize, and remember where you put in your custom documents. Okay, and here is when you get ready to add a document or change any of the existing documents, you must, if there's not a built-in one created, you must create a new document. So obviously we come up under add document, and we want to say this is for land only. And hopefully those of you that want to do this, I'm going to give it my best shot here to show you exactly how to do. This is what we would do instead of a doc. We're going to say both. So this is going to create both a PDF document, and it's also going to create a Word document. So we're going to create both. And under the status, we want to say we want that to be prospect. It's also, we might select complete, ready to sell. We're going to leave it at portrait. Document title. Let's just say custom neighbor letter 01. Okay. And now here's where we need to have the copy of the other letter, because what you're going to do is I'm going to take basically a copy of this letter, and I'm going to select everything in here. I'm going to copy that. Okay. So when I come back over here under my document content, I'm going to simply paste what I just pulled out of the other letter. Okay, I'm going to paste that here. Now, what you have to understand is in you're generating a new custom letter, there's certain fields that you want to have that what we call dynamic. You don't want this hard coded, for this date, obviously. Whichever date you create this letter, you want that to be dynamic. So we come in here and we'll select it. We'll put a cursor there, and we'll come over here to the insert merge. You want that to always be the current date. So you hit current date, and as you can see, it changes it to this dynamic field. So that just means whenever you run this, it's going to pull, Investment Dominator is going to pull the current date. Now, here's where you make any changes to any of the verbiage that you want to make changes to. You can add lines, or you can delete lines, or you can change. Now, here's where it says my name. Obviously, you don't want my name always, depending on who runs this particular file, you want that to be dynamic as well. So instead of having my name, now if you're sure you're the only one that's going to be using this, you can leave your name in there. But if you're not, then you want to come over and let's say your first name. All right. And then I'll also add, so I'm keeping my cursor right there where it's at. And I'm also going to add my last name. So it's going to say my first name and last name, and I'm interested in selling the property in a neighborhood located in, and here's where you also, depending on which county you're dealing with, you want this to be dynamic too. You don't want that to always be the same county. So you're going to come over here and insert the property county right here. And this has Arizona, obviously you want that to be the property state. Right? And the assessor's parcel is the APN. So all I'm doing is going in here, I'm highlighting that with my cursor, those fields that I want to change, and I'm going to select the appropriate field that should go in that particular section. So again, you're creating a custom document here. And again, if you want to change some of this verbiage, you could do so at that time. You want to make sure that it still prints out on one page. So any custom documents that you do, you need to obviously check to make sure that the document's going to only print on one line. Now here's your signature. Now this signature is not going to work. since that's coming directly out of the Investment Dominator. But when you go to produce that, it won't pull the signature. So you want to pull the field, specific field. It should be your signature right here, which is actually my signature, all right? And then my name will come after that. Scroll down, and now hold off to property until now the date that you want to put in here. Notice this is 10 days out, right? So the Investment Dominator calculated that's the offer expiration date. So you want to highlight that date, and you're going to pull the offer expiration, offer expire date, all right? And you put that in there, and you can call them. You can leave your phone number hard-coded. So again, you're creating a custom document, so you select label. You want to allow export data, yes. Allow bulk data, yes. And we want to move this to, neighbor letter sent status, maybe after we're done with this now. So you're creating a custom document here. So again, any verbiage that I want to change, I change it here in my document content. That's where you would change, but make sure you get those fields that I stated, your first and last name, your property, state, etc. Make sure you pull those from the insert merge field. So those are dynamic fields. So now we're going to say add. And as you can see, Investment Dominator should have added, probably added it to the very end. Yes, here it is, our custom neighbor letter 01. So this is, so now you've created your custom neighbor letter. What you have to do now is you want to make sure that Investment Dominator will process that. And this is where you're kind of fooling the system a little bit right here. You're making it think that these are prospect letters, but it's actually a customized letter that you created. So you go into land deals. And now, so what I'm going to recommend at this point, if you have records that are in prospect status, you don't want those records to be printed, because you're going to bring in another set of records. You're going to import it into the Investment Dominator, and it's going to be under prospect status. So you don't want all these other prospect records to get printed as your neighbor letters, because remember, you're going to find out what your source of neighbor letters are, and you're going to import another file. So in this case, you would come up here and search for any under the status of prospect, and when it comes back, you search for all those, you're going to get all your prospects. I would recommend that you go in at this point and change the status to let's say, okay, it says, so I have to select all of my, all of the ones that were in that search. So you have to select all of them. So you hit select all, and then come in and do your change status. And you basically would move these, I would move them to on hold just for the time that you want to process these records. Just move them to on hold, or create a new custom status saying, neighbor letter hold, something like that. That would give you a chance to get all those prospects out of the way. I'm not going to do that here because that's 52 records. So I'm going to clear my search here. Everything's back to normal. So let's pretend that I move those now to another status, and either on hold or some other status you created. And now I want to bring in, or I want to import these records just as if I were importing records for the first time coming into Investment Dominator, as I want to process them as prospect records. So let me give you an idea what that would look like. And if you can think of another way to do this, you know, I take my hat off to you. This is the best way I found out to be able to do it, so that I could bring them in. So now let's just say this is my import file, and I'm just pretending here that I have gone out and I found out these are the individuals, these are my neighbors that I actually want to process. Just to give you an idea, with this strategy, some people are sending, you know, 30 or 40 neighbor letters for some geographical area. So you could be sending that many letters. So we want to import these. What I would do is I would come over here and I would add a tags, and in that tags, I'm going to say something like, you know, let's see, maybe neighbor tag 01. You know, that'll be my first tag run. And so I'm going to have this value on all of my records is for this run, so that when it comes into the Investment Dominator, it's got all those records tagged. So once all of my records are tagged, and of course I save this file, right? You want to make sure you save it. And then once then I'm going to import this record into the Investment Dominator. And just so you know, I'm sure, you know, those of you that have done this, but you would basically come up here, you say import, come in, you choose the file, and based on what file I want to send, so you have to find it on your computer again, the one you just built, and this is the one I believe I might have saved or brought in. So then you're going to upload that list. Okay, when I'm done uploading that list, it's going to be, I'm going to have a whole bunch of, they're going to come in as my prospects. But it's very important that you do that so that your records get imported into the Investment Dominator. All right, so once my records are imported as prospects, then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to generate documents. Now remember, I created a custom neighbor letter, right? So I'm going to go here under custom document template, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to find my custom neighbor letter 01. Here it is, way down at the bottom. So this is what I'm going to reference now as my customized document that I created. And then when I open that, it's opening up here, it's going to take all those prospect records as it opens up. Okay. Make sure. So now this is an example of what I was saying. You want to make sure any modifications, you know, they all fit on one page. So you would probably do a document preview. Any changes I made, I want it to all fit on one page. So I'd have some modifications to do here. But that's basically how and you see my signature came in. It's basically showing me that any of the counties, you know, it has my name, you know, Warren Davis. I'm interested in this parcel. This parcel number comes in. So you're fooling the system into thinking that you're actually creating, you know, it's going to just put into this particular document the same fields that it would put if you were actually doing a neutral letter. So we have it's run on December 2nd. That's today's date. And obviously, you know, like I say, we have to modify this. You go back into your customized document under customize, and not sure why that came out with more than one page. But in any case, what I would do if I had something like that take place, I'm looking for my custom neighbor letter 01. I'm going to edit it, and here I got the current date. Might have an extra line there, and let's see if I see any extra. I do want at least one line, so I'm going to do a shift and enter. That gives me one line. And let's see where I might find another line. Maybe under the my signature, that could be. So I'll take that line out there. And here I noticed the offer expired date was too far out. So I want to find the right date. Offer accept date. Maybe that's the one we want. Okay. And we're going to update our file now that we've made, you know, certain changes. Again, the beautiful thing about Investment Dominator now is that you can preview the document even before I go all the way back through the process again. I can do a document preview right here and see, okay, excellent. Oh, still printing on more than one page. So I can't figure out why some of those did get in there, but let's see. You can just go back and again do your document preview, or go back into your edit mode. This one, that's the wrong one. I'll cancel that. Neighborhood 01, edit. Okay. And figure out where I'm going to get rid of some lines here. Just so we can see all this fit on one page. See, company. All right. But I think you get the idea that you basically have to modify it. I'll just take some lines out here. Make sure that we fit it. Okay. All right, so we'll try saving this one. I'm going to update here. And we will then go over to our document. Do a document preview again. And see, this looks a little better. Still got to pull some other lines out. But the whole point is now that let's just say we've gone in, we've modified it. You know, we've got our document printing on one line. I'm going to get that. That's kind of bugging me there. So let's see. Here's Y. Maybe we'll put that there. Take out a few more. And update. Hopefully that will do it. When I went through this in my test, I didn't have this issue. I don't know why I'm having it now with the document not printing on one specific line. Ha! Oh boy. Getting closer. And so you need one more line out of there. Okay, pass a hole, something Y. Let's see, for granted sake, we'll go get this wrapped up here. May look a little squished, but we'll get it to all fit on one page. Okay, so we update. And this is the thing about creating a custom document. This is the kind of modifications that you need to do in order. That's the wrong one, Davis. Custom letter, document preview. Okay, finally. Okay, everything fits on one page and you've got your signature. So now that you've previewed the document and you know that it's working as anticipated, you go back to your land deals. You can do your generate documents. And remember, all those prospects now are all of your neighbor letters that you want to print out. So you go into your custom document template and come all the way to the bottom and produce your document. As it opens up the right one here. All right. See, that was not the one. Okay, here we go. So here are all of our neighbor letters, and whatever verbiage you might have changed would now be in there, and the appropriate date. You see, it's going to come out. It gives them 10 days to reply back to this offer that you're sending them, or the actual neighbor letter, so they have. So they can let you know whether or not they're interested in purchasing the property that you're referring to. But this is how you basically would have to create a custom neighbor letter. And so now that this is recorded, you have to go back and look at, you can go back and look at for this date, December 2nd, look at this particular recording, and that will hopefully help you create this neighbor letter. Now, just for those of you that may say, well, Warren, I don't want to have to print all of those myself. All right, you could at the same time, remember, because it came in customer neighbor letter, you also have this CSV file over here. If you're going to use something like letterprinting.net or some other mail service, if you wanted to send this CSV file to them along with the template, of your neighbor letter. Remember, you have to send your template of your neighbor letter. Then they could print this for you. But if not, you would have to print all these neighbor letters out, and then you could mail them. And then you don't want to forget, because all of your previous prospects now. Remember, when we went through and we selected all of those, we changed the status to on hold. Then obviously, or if you made a custom status like neighbor letter hold, you have to now come back and change those back to prospect once you've already mailed these letters. And so then you probably want to change the ones that you mailed. You want to change it to neighbor letter sent status, so that you won't send to them again. All right. And so Michael was asking a question. He's asked, well, what if I made my signature smaller? When I was trying to get some room there on the different letters. Well, unfortunately, Michael, there is no way to make your name smaller. My signature, it comes from my profile. And this is the size it is. There's no way to really control the size of your fixed signature, except, now there's a caveat there. The only way to make your signature smaller is to generate a longer name. So if I were to generate a name, so if that were my name and I selected a font, the longer your name is, the smaller it actually, your signature will be. So you see how small this is, because it's got, you know, several names versus just 2 names. So the only way to control the size of your signature is by actually having a longer name or putting more letters in there. Spaces don't count. So someone has already tried that. That's the only way, at least right now with the Investment Dominator, that we have to making your font actually smaller as it comes into, as it pertains to your signature. The only way to make it smaller is to have your name be longer. Okay, good question. And okay. And okay, good question, Michael, too, is if you've only got, and obviously, if you've only got 6 to 10 neighbor letters to do, it's easier to print them individually. And if you only have 6 to 10, but remember, the reason why I carried you through that entire exercise for neighbor letters is because there have been several individuals that want their neighbor letters to actually, they want to change the verbiage on their neighbor letter. They're not happy with the way it's worded, or they want to say something different. Some folks don't even want to say howdy neighbor. They don't want to say anything like that. And some are saying, you know, in your neighborhood, the property located at this county, there's just certain words and certain verbiage that they want to change. And we don't have the capacity right now to have you actually generate a custom neighbor letter. You can't change our built-in neighbor letter. So the only way, that's why I came up and I was going through this exercise, Michael, was to make sure that, you could, now, if you've only got a few of these to print out and you don't mind using the neighbor letter that's in the system, see, you can produce this document file here, this doc file, just like I did. You can enable editing. You could come in, if you only got like a few of these that you want to change, you could come in and, you know, obviously select all of this information, copy it, change the words that you want to change or change the phrases, and you could print those out individually. Okay, you're very welcome to do that. What we're dealing with here is people that were in the land deals that said, okay, I'm going to send neighbor letters for one property, and I know several individuals that you know, been very successful with the neighbor letters. They send 20 to 30 neighbor letters for one property. So 20 to 30 neighbor letters they send for just one property. And they wanted a way to come in, change the verbiage that they wanted to change, and then have the system generate all 20 or 30 of those neighbor letters at the same time. Okay, but you're always welcome to generate the neighbor letter yourself as a doc file. Don't forget to make it a doc file, and then you can make any changes you want, and it's much quicker that way if you've only got a few of these to do. Okay, so let's see here. All right. Very good. Okay, what else did we have? We had some questions that folks wanted to know kind of quickly here. Let's see, we got a few minutes left. Let's see if I missed any here. If I didn't get your question today, I promise I'll get it to you by Thursday. I'll get it by Thursday's webinar at 12 noon. And looks like all right. Let's see here. We had a general question that came in. I think it might have come in through the ticketing system. Using NetR Online. Okay. And those of you that have already gone through the 2-day workshop, you might have seen this demonstrated. And let's see specifically what the question, how to use NetR Online for assistance. Okay, you have those who are in the process, you may be in the process of looking for a quick way to access specific sites. That's really the best use of NetR Online. If you want to access county websites and you don't, they're difficult and you don't really know how to get the information that you're looking for, that's the beautiful thing about NetR Online. NetR Online allows you to select. So if you're seeing my screen here, NetR Online will allow you. So all I did was type in www.netraronline.com, and I'm going to go into the public records online. And so all you have to do is know a little geography. You have to know where your state is. Let's say if I'm looking for, this is just hover over these and all your states will show up. So let's say I'm looking for North Carolina. I left click on that and it brings up all of the different counties in the state of North Carolina. And let's say specifically I might be looking for Johnston. So I'm gonna left click on Johnston. And here, I tell you, all of this advertisement stuff gets really kind of blocks me out here. Okay, so if I want to look for a GIS map, I can go to the data online associated with GIS map. If I want to look at the county assessors, so I can look at I can pull information about a particular parcel. I'll go to the county online and boom, now I'm automatically on the Johnston. I'm on the Johnston County map, and I may want to view something. If I have an APN number, I can go right into searching for a particular person by last name. Let's say if I have the last name and a first name, I can search for them this way. Let's say didn't find anything. Let's see. Let's say I have a parcel ID, which I just happen to have one on this person. Cool. And I search for, let's see, I'm going to show all bills and search. Okay. So I just asked for all of any records that have to do with this particular individual, and I can just select one, and it says, okay, the bill is already paid in full, so I find out automatically there are no back taxes for this person, which is good. But I can come over here to this parcel summary and see I'm already on Johnston County map, so I don't really even have to know that much. I don't have to know how to get to their actual county map. I don't need the URL. I just came in through NetR Online and it found it for me. Okay, and so then now I can look at any of their information here that, and of course, I'm concerned about in terms of parcel ID, the taxes paid, last payment, etc. And anyway, that's just a real quick example of NetR Online that hopefully can help you depending on whichever state you might be looking at. You know, you're looking Texas, you know, you come into Texas, all of a sudden you have all the counties in Texas that are showing up. Okay, so just a quick look at NetR Online for those of you that may be interested in using that. And to sum it up, I tell you, we're already 1 minute over time. I'll leave this thought with you. Again, hope all of you have had a good holiday break and you're back at work or doing your business on a Monday and that it's going well for you. If I leave this thought with you for today, this is a quote. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. That quote came from Nelson Mandela. So I just want you to be encouraged to stay courageous, keep doing this business. We are, even through the holiday season, this is a time where we get a lot of contracts accepted. Want to encourage you to keep getting those letters out and keep staying consistent with your business from 1 week to the next. It will pay you great dividends, and we'll look forward to being back here Thursday at 12 noon. Take care, everybody. Have a great week.